You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and with Chris, we're back at the old stand for 2014. You know, they said it never could be done. It would never happen. But we're getting near the completion of 8 years on the air, 2006 to 2014.
Just imagine it, Gene. I mean, when you started this show, every cell in your body except nerve cells and brain cells have been replaced already. You are a completely different person.
Why do you say that? I'm the same.
Change is good, old buddy.
Oh, I could use a little change. A lot of change I could use. But that's another story. I don't want to get into that on the radio. Those who want to know what I'm talking about, go to our forums at forum.theparacast.com, where we're trying to set things up for the next generation of the Paracast. Now that we are regenerated, and I don't regenerate quite as often as Doctor Who, you know. Doctor Who, I think he regenerates every 2 or 3 years.
Oh. Okay.
So the latest incarnation of Doctor Who, from Matt Smith, who was like 30 or 31 when he finished the run, to Peter Capaldi, who is about 55. Yeah. So in the space of one...
into it.
You never got into it?
Nope, never seen a single episode of Doctor Who.
They have celebrated the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. And they got just the greatest solution to allow for multiple people to play Doctor Who. They created this gimmick called regeneration, where when one actor gives up, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be typecast, whatever. They bring in a new actor with a new personality, and they regenerate Doctor Who into the new person. Now, it's not quite like James Bond, which has also been around, since the early 60s. There, they simply bring in another actor and say, here's James Bond, without saying, of course, he's another actor. So I like the Doctor Who way. They're more honest about it. You're getting a new guy. That's it. Anyway, let's talk about regeneration and evolution. There's a survey out this week, I think from Pew Research. And some people will say poo-poo about it, but that's another story. Mentioning the fact that about a third of the people in the United States do not believe in evolution, believe that humans have always existed since the beginning of time.
Yeah, for 6,000 years.
Well, I didn't want to mention that little condition here.
Well, whatever floats everybody's ark.
Yeah, but how do you explain carbon dating?
How do you explain ignorance and stupidity? I mean, that's about the same question. It's unfortunate. There are quite a number of uneducated people on the planet, and that includes in this country. And I think level of education and intellectual, how evolved you are intellectually might come into play here. That and the fact that it's just more convenient to abdicate responsibility for your own educational process to your church or to some politician.
Well, certainly not to a politician. You shouldn't abdicate anything to a politician because they'll get you in trouble every time.
Well, don't get me started on that subject. Ugh.
Well, one of the biggest discussions in our forums with regard to Don Ecker's appearance last week was this short segment we did about weapons of mass destruction, which preceded the Second Iraqi War. And, of course, the general conclusion is they didn't find any. In fact,
I was going to say, what weapons?
Remember this silly skit that George Bush did for one Christmas where he's looking under the bed for the weapons of mass destruction?
They got to be here somewhere.
Yeah, they had to be somewhere. If that didn't say it all, if his dog couldn't even find it, his dog searching for the weapons of mass destruction, couldn't find it. I
think the closest he got to finding it was when he choked on that pretzel.
Well, part of it is also the fact that people like Colin Powell, who made the big sales pitch before the UN for the weapons of mass destruction, he says, you know what? We were misled. They weren't there. We were fooled. And we know there's an interesting discussion in our forums, which Mr. Ecker has been involved, featuring Bob Zanotti, who worked in radio as a newscaster at the time. And he said, look, the stuff that he got from the reporters he worked with, and he worked in Europe, he worked in Switzerland, that's where he lives. He said they were skeptical. There was a lot of skepticism of the existence of those weapons of mass destruction outside the U.S. And maybe outside of Israel. Israel, I think, accepted it.
It's obvious. It was all a pretext to go in and grab a quarter of the world's oil. I mean, it's so obvious, isn't it?
But where's that oil? We're not taking it.
Well, of course, it's going to, to the deepest pockets in the neighborhood. And I love the figures that were tossed out at the beginning of the Gulf War. Oh, it's going to only cost, $50 billion, and all that money will be paid back by oil revenues. And you never hear about how many barrels of oil that the Iraqis are pumping every day. And you never see the terrible degradation of the communities and the cities and the infrastructure in the country still to this day. I mean, the country is a shambles compared to how it was before we went in to liberate. It's like, what was the guy in Vietnam that said we had to destroy the village in order to save it? You know, it's that kind of mentality that's really not making America popular around the world right now.
So in theory, you go to Iraq because 3,000 Americans were killed. So you kill 4,000 soldiers and 100,000 Iraqis? And they had nothing to do with it.
100,000 Iraqis? What, are you kidding? Try timesing that by 10.
A million Iraqis?
A million Iraqis
died as a result of that war?
That's the figure that I've seen that makes more sense. So it's somewhere hovering around 1 million people. And that's not even counting all the ones that are going to be devastated for generations by the tons of depleted uranium that we left behind with all our armor-piercing shells. But we're digressing here.
This is the Paracast, I think. You know, some people question that fact. But, you know, when we do talk about UFOs and strange events of all kinds, the politics gets in there. We talk about conspiracy theories. As soon as you say JFK, you open up the can of worms.
Well, as soon as you talk about the Middle East, you're going to be talking about politics, and today we're going to be talking about all sorts of things concerning the Middle East.
We have a guest who's definitely a fascinating character. His name is Barry Chamish. Now, perhaps you haven't heard of him, but Barry Chamish wrote a #1 bestseller, Who Murdered Yitzhak Rabin, the former Israeli prime minister. He's also investigated an Israeli UFO wave that was featured in 5 episodes on the Sightings TV show. And he wrote a book about it called Return of the Giants. He also believes, by the way, that #1, the JFK assassination was not quite a conspiracy that Oswald did it, but there might be a conspiracy to the death of JFK Jr.
No, that wouldn't surprise me.
Which is really peculiar. That's something we haven't heard about. And this is Barry's first time on the Paracast. He was really happy to come aboard. Maybe he's a listener. I hope he is. But we have a lot of fascinating things to talk about, some interesting discussions, and it's going to get political, folks. It's not just going to be about the paranormal. It's going to be political, a lot of ground to cover. It's going to be one of our best segments for 2014, even though it's the first one. And we're not going to ask him about evolution. I don't know about weapons of mass destruction. We might get to that.
Yeah.
I have to think we might. But so much more to come. And remember, if you want to participate, we always open up the forums for questions for upcoming guests at forum.theparacast.com, forum.theparacast.com. With Gene and with Chris and upcoming Barry Chamish, you're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's the number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
Do you know how much the dollar has lost in its value against other currencies in the last 90 days? Ever think about how inflation will change your life, your savings, your retirement plans? Remember inflation in Zimbabwe, Argentina, the Weimar Republic? Put another way, who cares if your investments go up 10%, but you lose 40% of your purchasing power? Gold is the only monetary asset as no one else's liability. Gold still buys the same amount of stuff it always did. Gold does not require trust in a third party. You can possess it in your hand. You can take it with you. Gold is real money. Gold is honest money. My name is Daniel Larson from Midas Resources. To find out how you can protect your savings and roll over your IRA funds into precious metals accounts, please call me at 800-686-2237, extension 134. That's 800-686-2237, extension 134. 800-686-2237, extension 134.
We live in a complicated society. Stressful issues are always popping up. Have you ever been treated unfairly by someone? Have you ever been overcharged for a repair? Have you ever signed a contract or a document? Worried about identity theft? How many times have you been in those unique situations where you just wanted to call an attorney to find out if you're right or wrong, or what your legal rights are? But every time you think about calling an attorney, what do you think about first? That's right. Who do you call, and how much will it cost? Our friends at Legal Shield have found a solution. With a nationwide network of 6,900 attorneys who average over 19 years of experience, Legal Shield's law firms take over 40,000 calls per week helping their members. For less than $20 per month, you can have access to Legal Shield on everything from the trivial to the traumatic. Let Legal Shield stand up for your rights at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com. Or call 855-340-SAVE, 855-340-7283.
Great news, pure water lovers. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has a special discount offer for all GCN listeners. You can't do better than a Big Berkey for economy. For only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. There's none better than a Big Berkey for emergency preparedness as a backup water source. And you just can't beat a Big Berkey to remove dangerous chlorine, all types of fluoride, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, parasites, and unhealthy byproducts from municipal water. Berkey water filter systems are even powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. For the gold standard in water filters, get a Big Berkey at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And all GCN listeners get 5% off all ceramic filter systems. For details, call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Welcome back to the Paracast, where we introduce for the first time in the show Barry Chamish. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. So it's Barry Chamish.
It is.
And welcome to the Paracast, sir.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here.
You were telling us you have a bout of flu, so if you sound...
Holy moly, what a flu this is. Listen, I've had a bad health year, terrible health year. I had a quintuple, not quadruple, quintuple bypass in the last year and a half.
At least it's not as bad as, what is it, Dick Cheney, who had, like, heart things going on every hour.
Well, you know what? This flu is worse than the bypass. Honest to goodness. There's something going on in the States. My own problem has been, it's been complicated by a neighbor situation, which is intolerable and has worn me down from the stress. But my goodness, is this a flu?
Such a flu.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners about Barry Chamish. How did you get involved in this kind of investigative journalism? What's your background?
Well, you know what? I just wanted to write. And you know what? I'm not a good traditional writer. I just don't follow rules well enough and whatever. I had to go out on my own. And, well, at the same time, now this is not a very good coincidence, but it is a coincidence. Yitzhak Rabin was murdered in the worst conspiracy you ever saw. I mean, the evidence left behind. Let's put it this way. My book made #1. It was called Who Murdered Yitzhak Rabin. That came out in Hebrew, I believe, in English it was 97, translated to Hebrew in 99. At the same time, trying to stay alive and chasing other stories. Look, this business of UFOs in Israel from 87 to 99, what a wave. I mean, really, what a wave. Now, what happened is my partner in those days, Joel Boehnerman, he wrote, I would call it a classic book. In certain circles, it's viewed that way, Crimes of a President. It was about the Bush administration, and leave it as that. He was in Los Angeles and told them about me at Sightings. Well, I got a phone call. This led to 5 separate episodes of Sightings. Frankly, that's how good the material I was gathering was, 5 separate episodes. So while Rabin, which, honest to goodness, what a terrible, terrible murder and cover-up. And I got it so straight that when the book came out in Hebrew, it made #1 in Israel. Wasn't much, no. It was #1. All right. Well, #3 in Ma'ariv. I think it was #1 in Haaretz. It was a major book in Israel. Look, that book.
Let me ask you here, so that our listeners get caught up with this. Why was it such an obvious conspiracy, and was it ever officially recognized as such?
What do you mean officially? You mean that they confessed? Are you joking? They covered me Listen, my life has been very rough because they are the murderers, really. Look, I'm going to go through this simply. Make it easy on you. Basic medical, and I got the basic medical, and I had allies funneling me the stuff from the hospital. They were funneling me the stuff from the police, the forensics, the ballistics. The patsy, that's Yigal Amir, shot, and we have a film of it from behind, from, let's say, minimum half a yard, probably a little more, but we have it on camera. Officially, the hospital has Yitzhak Rabin not shot twice. Yigal Amir shot twice. He was shot 3 times. Yigal Amir shot from the back. The killing shot was from the front. I have the medical documents. More than that, look, between us, I can say this now. I got all the documents because Yigal Amir's lawyer's detective, he had a detective tracking down everything. He phoned me up and said, I got a present for you. I'm coming by. He dropped by with cases of evidence, 2,500 pages. He said, my wife can't stand it anymore. She's going crazy. She doesn't want it in the house. Do whatever you want with them. He gave me all the evidence gathered to, Yigal Amir, the patsy, was destined to go to prison. He had to, because the lead conspirator, the one who organized it all, is now the president of Israel, Shimon Peres. And it becomes very, very messy. He gave me the works. I not only had the medical, which proved Rabin was shot 3 times, not twice. Major stuff, by the way. Not from point blank, which is, of course, the official story. Yigal Amir shot. Oh, I'm sorry. Not from half a meter's distance, which the film and the official story tells us, but he was shot point blank, in short, indisputable medical. And by the way, I gave this lecture of mine, over 300 times in Israel over a 10-year period. I actually had a living on the murder of Yitzhak Rabin, and it convinced. I never had an audience, and I'm talking about really far left wing. Just the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes were hell for me. Little by little, they settled down, listened, and they all came to the same conclusion as my book. Rabin couldn't have been killed by the patsy Yigal Amir. In fact, he was shot dead by his bodyguard, Yoram Rubin, and he arrived at Iqlab Hospital with 2 wounds, and he survived. He was alive. They revived him. They got the doctors and nurses out of the operating theater, and they shot him a 3rd time through the front, and we have, well, it's called the song sheet. Essentially, it was shown to the public with the blood of Rabin on the song sheet and a bullet hole. The problem is the bullet. I mean, who puts a song sheet in the back of your jacket? All right? It was at the front. This actually sold more people than the complicated ballistic and forensic evidence. I got it cold. I solved this one cold.
I'll tell you what, we got to solve this announcement first before we progress with Barry Chamish.
Go to it.
Joining Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
The bad boy of broadcasting, Mancow, has found a new home. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Would you like being an insider? Would you like getting exclusive access to prizes and better deals? Would you like some help in making sure you and your loved ones are prepared for the next disaster or emergency? If you answered yes to any of these, here's your simple solution. Join Freeze Dry Guy's Survival Insider Club. Not only is your membership free, you get $10 in survival bucks just for signing up. Then you save at least 10% on purchases, plus enjoy insider access to specials, prizes, and other exclusive offers. Since 1970, veteran-owned Freeze Dry Guy has been your trusted source for long-lasting, easy-to-make freeze-dried food and dehydrated food, perfect for emergency preparedness, RV travel, and outdoor needs from camping to sailing. Enjoy life as a survival insider. Call Freeze Dry Guy now at 866-404-3663, 866-404-FOOD, or log on to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100 foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL.
Lock in your price now. Take delivery in spring.
866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
My name's Bruno. I'm 52 years old. I've tried different protein powders over the years, and they've all tasted pretty bad. I tried One World Whey and found it to be delicious. After 10 weeks on One World Whey, my wife commented, "You have more muscles and you're leaner than when you were 20 years old." My body has changed dramatically. I'm a cyclist. Normally I'll ride 2 days on and take 2 days off. After being on One World Whey, I rode 10 days in a row in over 100-degree heat, and then I'd take another 2 servings of One World Whey, and then work out at the gym for another hour and a half. I just couldn't believe these results. My normal muscle tightness and soreness after working out are virtually gone. Don't take my word for it. One World Whey comes in single servings. Just give it a try.
For a health and taste sensation you'll love, call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworldwhey.com.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
We continue with Barry Chamish, and he's talking to you folks about his best-selling book about the murder of Yitzhak Rabin, a former Israeli prime minister. Now, Barry, how was this received in the United States?
It was published twice in the United States. The first edition, Farrell House, was a mess. They got some editor who butchered it. But the second edition, it got out. But in Israel, it was the bestseller. It was translated into 9 languages. I mean, this book is out there in Italian and in German and French and whatever, in Russian, but only in Hebrew was it a bestseller. And naturally, it was the Israeli prime minister, and Israelis read Hebrew. That one made the top of the charts. And it shook, well, look, the power that the authorities have over people's minds is overwhelming. And I learned it the hard way. I'm going to die young. Mostly, well, what can you say? They made sure this did not make me a star, okay? This was done. Look, a conspiracy is wacko, and they planted that idea that anyone who believes in the conspiracy behind Rabin is wacko, except for one thing. They stopped taking polls. The last poll taken, I believe, was in 2007, Maariv. A majority of religious Israelis believed me over the government, and a third of secular Israelis, which, by the way, is significant if you know their mentality, which is really, really malleable. Putting it mildly. In short, I managed to convince half of Israel that this was a murder, and it was a murder. Now, here's the part that they're trying to cover up more than anything else by the current president of Israel, Shimon Peres. He organized it.
Now, let me ask you a question here, a very obvious question, and that is, okay, so the current guy in charge is responsible. Now, being accused of something like this, does he just dismiss you as a crank, or has he made efforts to get after you? You think he might?
Oh, no, he doesn't refer to me at all. Look, Peres is not just a murderer of Rabin. He knocked off Sharon as well. And the same bodyguard, Yoram Rubin, was Sharon's bodyguard. And when he was appointed Sharon's bodyguard, I wrote, this guy, Sharon, is not going to live. He's not going to survive. It didn't take long before he was taken care of. This Peres got to his power through murder.
Wow.
Hey, you know, when you look at these things, Barry, this is Chris here. Normally you go for motive, and Shimon Peres was.
What was the motive?
His motivation because Rabin was trying to make peace with Arafat in the Palestine.
Oh, please! Rabin was opposed to that tooth and nail. Look, now you have to go into the background. This peace process is going to end Israel. So-called peace process, the Oslo process. This Peres, let's put it this way, it's so complicated. I don't know if we're going to do this, but I'm going to try anyways. There are forces at work in this world. One force, believe it or not, is the Vatican, and Peres is just simply an agent of the Vatican and has been for the longest time. They want Jerusalem. That's what they want. And they sure as heck don't want Israel for much longer. But Israel's got another enemy in the United States. And it gets messy here. That's the Council on Foreign Relations who really run their show here. In a huge way, they run their show. Oh, my goodness, your Secretary of State Kerry. I'm not going to go through this. This is a separate issue. These two forces, they agree on one thing: Israel's got to go. And what happened is Rabin, now this is also a very, how did they get Rabin, who at one time in his life was honest, and they got him. Rabin was CFR, Peres was Vatican. A little bit of a rivalry going on. Peres wanted Rabin out. Peres got Rabin out. Peres became prime minister. Netanyahu threatened to expose the murder and the truth of it. He took over eventually. It's a very messy situation. The leadership of Israel, they're the worst enemies the Jews could imagine because they're controlled from outside Israel.
Sir, let me ask you then. Does this mean that the current leadership... No, does this mean the current leadership of Israel ultimately wants to destroy the country?
The current leadership of Israel is Netanyahu. The people know nothing. This is one of the biggest problems I had with explaining Rabin and why he was knocked off and why Peres got away with knocking off Sharon afterwards with the same bodyguard, Yoram Rubin. It was the same murderer, the same everything. How did they get away with this? Because Jews are incredibly stupid. Right? They walked into a Holocaust without diving into that one. We could have avoided that. But I'm going to explain this simply. There was a war going on, labor Zionism, which really has no influence on the Israeli public, but it has a heck of a lot of influence on the Israeli authorities. They ran the show. They booted out the right-wing Israelis. They booted out the religious. In the 30s, they cut deals with the Nazis. The worst was the transfer agreement. The transfer agreement. The Nazis banned all Jewish organizations but one in Germany, Labor Zionism. They ended up shipping off 80,000 Jews trained in their camps to Israel during the 30s. In fact, just before the Holocaust began, they were still legal in Germany. You've got these labor Zionists who, you want to talk about the worst enemy of the Jews? They hate the religious. They fought a war against the right wing, and they're losing. In the Jewish mind, this movement is irrelevant. It's got, 14 seats out of 120 in the Knesset. It's an irrelevant movement, but they've got the money and they've got the power and the destruction they are causing to Israel. We lost half the Ashkenazi Jews through this transfer agreement. Look, Hitler was no friend, but the labor Zionists wanted to get rid of their enemies. They just kind of played along. They cut an agreement. There's a book by Edwin Black. It's called The Transfer Agreement. You want to get shocked, get him. And he's not a marginal conspiracy writer. He's actually a mainstream and a good investigative journalist, Edwin Black.
We've got to move on here, and I really want to cover some other ground with you. And number one is something I read about what you said with regard to the JFK assassination, but also the death of JFK Jr. Now, we have to split in a moment for our break, but once we get back on the other side, I'd like you to tell our listeners, Barry, first about what you think of the assassination of President Kennedy. Was it a conspiracy? Was it Oswald or someone else? And we'll have you answer that on the other side. And then something I read from you where you suggest that the death of JFK Jr. in that plane accident, that may have involved a murder. Okay, there's a lot more going on here, and we need to talk about it. We have Barry Chamish joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Independently leading the way for the nation. Compelling talk for every political persuasion. We are GCN.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
My mom's a breast cancer survivor. The United Breast Cancer Foundation saved her life. Their free breast cancer exam caught the cancer early, and it saved her life. But now the foundation needs your help so they can continue offering free or low-cost breast screening exams, saving more women's lives. Help them by donating your car, whether it's running or not. They'll provide fast, free pickup, and you receive a charitable tax deduction, plus the great feeling you'll get knowing your donated car is going to help save more women's lives. Just call 800-443-3091 to set the wheels in motion. They take cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs, running or not. Call 800-443-3091. The United Breast Cancer Foundation needs your help, and your donation could literally save thousands of women's lives, helping them catch breast cancer early, like they did with my mom. So call today, 800-443-3091. That's 800-443-3091.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
A little over a year ago, I began to do a lot of research into why, even though I had a pretty good-sized meal, that I was still starving. And my research led me to a well-known fact that most of the soils that we grow our crops on here in the United States and across the industrialized world are almost completely depleted of almost all of the key minerals and trace elements that our bodies need to rebuild themselves, fight off cancer, and be healthy. I then searched out the best vitamin and mineral company out there and discovered Youngevity. The Youngevity products are designed to give you the real nutrition you need, and once you've got that, you don't have to eat as much to be satisfied. I've lost 37 pounds in 2 months, simply getting the vitamins and minerals I need. Check it out for yourself. It's incredible. Go to InfoWarsTeam.com today and order your first canister of Beyond Tangy Tangerine Complete Multivitamin Mineral Complex Dietary Supplement. That's InfoWarsTeam.com.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
Barry Chamish joining Gene and Chris on the Paracast. And now let's move to, I guess they still call it one of the greatest or most notorious conspiracies of all time, the death of JFK. So what are we talking about here? Do you think it was a conspiracy as many believe, or was it Oswald?
It's too messed up now. The 50th anniversary was this month. I'm sorry, last month. Big deal. It was a month ago. And, oh my goodness, has this become obfuscated? You can no longer trace one conspiracy. It's a mess. But there is one. Oh, was this not a mess? That was the conspiracy of his son. And this is where I came in, because he and I were allies, whether he knew it or not. And I'll bet you he knew it.
Did you ever meet or have contact with JFK Jr.?
No. But he had a magazine called George.
Right.
In March of 1997, and again, you have to forgive me, I got a flu today, so I'm not at my best, but I'm going to do my best with this. In March of 1997, he did a 13-page breakthrough article on the Rabin assassination, where over 50% agreed with me. Now, we have to go to the beginning of how I brought this up again. Look, November last month was also the 18th anniversary of the assassination of Rabin. Now, Yigal Amir was a patsy, but his brother, Haggai, he served 16 years for conspiring with his brother to murder Rabin. Now, you would think that a guy who spent 16 years in jail would be really ticked off. But no, he opened his mouth last month. This was the cover-up this year. They got Haggai Amir to tell a journalist, Ori Golan, by the way, Sydney Morning Herald, doesn't matter. He opened his mouth and he said, he admitted everything. He admitted he's guilty. He has no regrets. Look, I'm going to quote a little bit from Golan. He said, I don't regret what we did. I haven't changed my mind. And then here's a quote from Golan's article. He told Golan that he was surprised at how easy the assassination was. I mean, the Shin Bet, Israeli Internal Security, by the way, works and trains for exactly this sort of scenario, he said. The ease with which Yigal Amir killed Rabin at close range is, quote, the reason for all the conspiracy theories. And by the way, I don't disagree with him. But there's one problem. His mother, Giula Amir, was the primary snitch to JFK Jr. All right, let's go on with the quote. For this is from Israel National News. Giula Amir, Yigal and Haggai's mother, says she believes Yigal Amir was set up to take the blame for Rabin's death, but did not actually kill him. And last month, a guy rejected that argument. Quote, he shot him, he stated. Look, that interview sealed the fate of his brother. And by the way, his brother, he's sitting in Israel's version of death row for shooting the prime minister. He was allowed to get married and have a son, but I won't go into that right now. But the real problem is his mother was JFK Jr.'s, well, she was the source of this 13-page article. Again, in March 97, 13 pages in George magazine. JFK Jr. didn't write it. He was the only editor of any major American magazine to tell what he thought was the truth of Rabin, and he got about half right. Let me do the background of this crime, all right? I wrote this. At 9:20 p.m., July 16, 1999, JFK Jr. radioed the tower at an airport near Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, announcing he was preparing to land. Seconds after his plane exploded in midair and was witnessed by several witnesses, including a local newspaper reporter and an attorney. On board were his wife, Carolyn Bessette, and her sister, Lauren. Lauren's luggage was recovered miles from the crash site, an event that can only be caused by a midair collision. Now, for reasons that will become clear later, search for the missing plane was delayed for 15 hours, and then President William Bill Clinton sent out the equivalent of the Sixth Fleet to find the wreckage, hide it, and the bodies from the Snoopy media. And though JFK Jr. was never in the Navy, and though the families didn't consent, he cremated the corpses or evidence and threw the ashes into the water in an elaborate Navy funeral at sea. Now, behind the scenes, a hokey cover story was concocted. The weather, which was perfect, became stormy. JFK Jr. had a broken leg. Reports by the FAA and FBI, both concluding foul play was involved, were buried. Now, this is significant. And the arrival of Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak to Clinton's court the day before was given an alternative explanation. In fact, JFK Jr.'s profound effect on Israel was never mentioned, but it was huge. In the March 1997 issue of his magazine, George, JFK Jr. became the only publisher of a major American publication to expose the conspiracy to murder Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. His 13-page expose shook the Israeli establishment to its foundations. Shall I continue?
Well, I think you're making an interesting argument here. So basically, this all ties in together.
It's not an argument. These are straight-up facts. George published a 13-page expose, the only American publication to do so, of the murder of Yitzhak Rabin. That's not speculation. That's pure fact.
We understand that, Barry, but what you're suggesting is 2 years later that the Israelis took out JFK Jr. because of that expose?
Let me go on. It looks like I have to take this step by step. Look, here's an article from April 2nd, 97, Jewish Web Network. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin's widow charged Tuesday that JFK Jr.'s magazine, George, crossed, quote, the red line by publishing an article by the mother of her husband's assassin. Quote, how of all people could he do such a thing? Mrs. Rabin asked the son of President Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1963. Quote, perhaps he needed a sensational story to sell his paper. I would expect that he would take a higher moral stand. The article claimed, again, this is JFK Jr.'s article. The article claimed that Amir was goaded to shoot Rabin by an undercover agent for the Shin Bet Internal Security. And it thought it would be done with a doctored gun. The security force let the attack happen so they could take credit for saving the prime minister. By the way, I'm going to tell you later how to get my DVD of my Rabin lecture in English. Oh, we just show that the bodyguard behind Rabin looks at a mirror and then turns around, walks backwards, lets a mirror in. The whole thing was so ridiculously set up. But let me go on with the quote. And JFK Jr. was about to publish the final truth about Rabin's murder. Yes, Israel could not allow its operatives were called into action. I'm first going to quote you from JFK Jr.'s driver. It appeared in Maori shortly after his Piper so-called crashed. Quote from Maori. Headline, he could barely walk. How did he fly? Yoel Katzavman drove JFK Jr. 48 hours before the plane broke up. Quote, he was a quiet and humble client. Now it gets a little more self-serving.
Before you get into the self-serving, we got to do our break. We have to have this self-serving announcement to keep us going. We have Barry Chamish joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Not just an alternative to the mainstream media. We're the premier independent talk radio network. We are GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
It's no secret that silver is one of the oldest known natural antibiotics, but the mainstream media will never tell we the people this information. Why? Many drug companies and politicians have dangerous alliances that manipulate the way we live by prescribing drugs that only manage disease, keeping us dependent on big pharma. And with Obamacare at our doorstep, we are now forced into a system that many of us do not want any part of. And no man or government has the right to dictate how we as free people choose to take care of our health. The patriots at utopiasilver.com hold this truth dear. Colloidal and ionic silver supplements from utopiasilver.com open the door to a whole new world of natural healing for the body and the mind. Visit utopiasilver.com and discover the safe and effective health benefits of colloidal and ionic silver. Call 888-213-4338, 888-213-4338, and talk to the patriots at utopiasilver.com, a leading source of natural healing using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, minerals, vitamins, and herbs. utopiasilver.com.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
On the Paracast with Gene and Chris, we have a lot to cover. And now we're covering conspiracies involving the death of JFK Jr., Yitzhak Rabin, the murderer, somehow both being related. And you were quoting some material to amplify this on the subject, Barry, please.
Well, this is from Reeve. I mean, in those days, it was Israel's second paper. Yoel Katzavman was JFK Jr.'s chauffeur driver, and he is quoted, "How could he have flown that plane with a broken leg? It was suicidal," said Yoel Katzavman, 38, a limousine driver born in Hakiriot. who drove the Kennedy couple. In short, he recalls his last ride with JFK Jr. Now, this was a ridiculously self-serving article, and it got me going. Now, here's what I wrote in July. 2009, many years later, I believe. I had to gather this for the show, but let's see what I wrote. So now what do we do about the information coming out on the explosion of JFK Jr.'s plane? The day it happened, I wrote that JFK Jr. was doing more than any other American media figure to get to the bottom of the Rabin assassination truth. I reminded readers that his magazine George ran a 13-page expose of the Shabak's involvement in the assassination. I suggested this was a brave but risky stand. Then came the tidal wave of data. The FBI preliminary report confirming the bomb on the plane and noting the type of explosive was used by certain foreign intelligence services. This was followed by Catherine Cryer at Fox TV's The Cryer Report, announcing that JFK Jr. was about to meet high-ranking Mossad officers to get the full story of the Rabin assassination. Then the German paper, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, reported that Kennedy had met with Deputy Chief of the Mossad and Ram Levine to get the full story on the Rabin assassination 2 days before his plane went down. And then I wrote about the very self-serving article with JFK's chauffeur, then noted that the Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, was in Washington the day that Kennedy went down. And by the way, a bunch of people backed me up. Should I dive into that as well?
Well, Barry, at the time, I seem to recall that some of the conspiracies that were floating around in that summer of '99 had to do with him telling Hillary Clinton that he was planning on running for Senate.
I wrote that as well. I said those were floating around, but you know what? They were minor, really minor. The business, look, Shalom Chaver was a movement, a friendship that after Rabin's death, Clinton and Rabin were Chaverim, they were friends. But look, the priorities were Shimon Peres, and this so-called peace process had to be protected first. Look, as far as I'm concerned, JFK Jr. was a brave and wonderful publisher. He was set to explode the myths, as I had done, surrounding the murder of Rabin, unless he exploded first. And I haven't exploded, but I've had a real rough life around this. All right? That's summarizing it. If you want, I can go on. Just tell me and I'll go on with...
I'll tell you what here. You know, I think our listeners have certainly gotten a good introduction to the story about the murder of Rabin, is about the death of JFK Jr. And this is something that before we let you go for this session later on, you'll tell our listeners where they can find more information. But because of the focus of the
I'm going to do that then.
Okay, so let's
I'll
move.
do that now. You introduced it, so I have an excuse. Look,
okay.
You get the book, Who Murdered Yitzhak Rabin, at lulu.com. That's www.lulu.com. You'll see a search box right in my name, Chamish. CHAMISH. That'll get you to 8 of 9 of the books. My latest, it's called The Stinger Not the Stung. It's not there, and I'm just not technological enough to fix it. So you have to write in Chamish, The Stinger Not the Stung. But for this, you go to Who Murdered Yitzhak Rabin. Get the black and white. It's cheaper. And, well, my website is barrychamish.com. It'll tell you how to get to it.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to a subject near and dear to the hearts of the listeners of the Paracast, which is UFOs. And you got involved in a case involving UFOs, a number of cases in Israel a number of years back. Were you ever interested in this subject before then?
Yeah, Yeah, as a matter of fact, as a teenager, what was that town in New Hampshire, and the book written about incidents at Exeter. That's what it was called. As a teenager, that got me started. So I did have a background, but I was also trying to stay alive as a writer. And by the way, that's tough. That's real tough to be an independent writer. And that's what I've been my whole life, and it's never been easy. But what happened, what happened is the greatest wave, as far as I can tell, of strange and unexplainable and very reliable UFO incidents. Between 87 and 99, Israel was smashed with them. Now, if you want to go through this story, I'll go through it, but you have to allow me. You have to take a step-by-step, or I'm not convincing.
Okay, we definitely want to cover the story. Let's just start at the beginning. How did you become acquainted with this beginning of this episode, this wave of sightings of Israel? And what happened next?
Well, as a matter of fact, I was in the Air Force in the year 1980, and I was in the Sinai, and with a good friend of mine, who was Gali Reshef was. It doesn't matter. The fact is, we were on some sort of assignment, some sort of training assignment, and the sky above us in the Sinai, well, let's just call them falling stars, flying in sequence, breaking off, one to the right and one to the left, and one goes to. It was a very weird thing. And, what it comes down to is they didn't make sense to me one little bit. And I assumed they were UFOs and couldn't explain them. That got me started. That just got me started that there was something in the sky. And I got ripped a lot for the rest of my my service. I got ripped a lot about this, but I also had a bunch of allies. Adam Reuther, he was the one who saw this business in the Sinai, and Gali Reshef, who one evening he was with me, and I pointed to the sky, and there was this formation, this squadron. Again, a falling star. I mean, you can't describe them as anything but controlled falling stars. By the way, in the summer of 1980, it was a worldwide thing. It wasn't just Israel, but it became very, very different, and I was quite aware when on September 28th of 1987, the wave began. Shall we go through it or not? It's a long story. It really is.
You know what? We're going to certainly ask you to go through a lot of it because we're barely halfway into the show. Barry Chamish joins Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw of free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
Time and time again.
You need to come here and help us. We need assistance, please.
Those we should be able to depend on let us down.
Federal and state and local officials saying help is on the way. Well, the folks here in Bell Harbor say, show me.
Don't depend on the government to save you. Take action now so that you're prepared for the next disaster with MyPatriotSupply.com. Get the best prices on storable food, non-GMO seeds, water filtration devices, home canning equipment, survival and self-reliance books, and more at MyPatriotSupply.com. Call 866-229-0927.
We are hurting down here and we need help immediately.
Before it's time to survive, it's time to prepare. MyPatriotSupply.com. MyPatriotSupply.com.
It's no secret that silver is one of the oldest known natural antibiotics, but the mainstream media will never tell we the people this information. Why? Many drug companies and politicians have dangerous alliances that manipulate the way we live by prescribing drugs that only manage disease, keeping us dependent on big pharma. And with Obamacare at our doorstep, we are now forced into a system that many of us do not want any part of. And no man or government has the right to dictate how we as free people choose to take care of our health. The patriots at utopiasilver.com hold this truth dear. Colloidal and ionic silver supplements from utopiasilver.com open the door to a whole new world of natural healing for the body and the mind. Visit utopiasilver.com and discover the safe and effective health benefits of colloidal and ionic silver. Call 888-213-4338, 888-213-4338, and talk to the patriots at utopiasilver.com, a leading source of natural healing using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, minerals, vitamins, and herbs. utopiasilver.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
For our first show of 2014, Barry Chamish joining us. We talked earlier about the murder of Yitzhak Rabin and the death of JFK Jr. and whether that was also murder. But now we're focusing on a wave of sightings in Israel from the late 80s to the late 90s. We're going to give you plenty of time to talk about this, Barry. Let's proceed.
All right, let's do it in order. Again, look, I wasn't born to be a conspiracy writer. I was born to stay alive, and stories other people didn't cover allowed me an entrance into a broader media. That's basically why I got started. Right now, with that in mind, I obviously had the way of thinking that I understood things that are offbeat, including murders. All right, but the UFOs began in '87 with Ami Akhrai. He was driving just south of Haifa when he looked to his left towards the Mediterranean and thought he saw a helicopter in distress. It was hovering just above the sands of Shigmona Beach. He stopped his car, and then to his utter amazement, he saw a disc-shaped craft. It emitted a bright red flash and disappeared. Now, it bothered him a lot, and he went to the cops. The cops didn't know what to do with him, but referred him to a UFO expert. Her name was Hadassah Bell. Then things get interesting. They return to Shikmona Beach, and this flash emitted, well, its image, really, into the sands of Shikmona Beach. It was a 15-meter ellipsoid disc, burnt black into the sand. But what was more interesting, what wasn't burned. The vegetation that wasn't burned showed a clear image of a 3.5-foot pilot facing a control board. Now, many years later, when Sightings discovered me and I did these 5 episodes, I sent the sand that Ami collected to Sightings, and, well, that sold them. The sand seemed to melt in the heat of the camera. Now, later on, they found that the particles were covered by a low-melting hydrocarbon, and the lab that tested they couldn't find any human or natural explanation for this. Now, if that was the end of Shikmona Beach, all right, interesting. It gets way more interesting. On June 6th of 88, a similarly shaped craft once again was burned into the sands of Shikmona Beach, about 100 yards north of the first site. But this was followed by a it was the best documented, I don't know what you call it, when 2 teenagers probably making out on the sand witness a UFO explode in front of them into thousands of shards over Shikmona Beach. Now, by now, the UFO community were really well prepared to handle it. This was the third incident, but this one, the beach was strewn with burning white metal. That was cool when you touched it. The metal, it glows in water, but when you picked it up, it was cool. These shards, when you picked them up, quickly turned into a white ash. Scientists from the Technion Institute of Technology in Haifa tested the site and found that these shards were of magnesium, and the magnetism was thousands of times that of the surrounding area. And again, this is tested, and the testing is released, and you've now got in a year and a half 3 serious incidents at Shikmona Beach. Now, here's the real issue and why I wrote my book. Return of the Giants is called, and I'll tell you how to get that in time. 200 yards straight above Shikmona Beach. It overlooks a cliff. On that cliff is a biblical shrine that's called Elijah's Cave. Now, Elijah preached here in the Carmel Mountains, by the way. Now, the famous story behind this cave is that Elijah challenged the Canaanites to a duel of the gods. 2 bulls were tethered, and the gods were beseeched to roast them. Baal couldn't do it, but Elijah's God sent a ray of light which cooked the bull on the spot. And this ray, it sounds pretty similar to what was burning Shikmona Beach then. Now, here's where it gets a little weird. Within this cage of Elijah is a drawing. Look, I saw it, and someone named Michael Hesman flew to Israel to film Shikmona Beach. It was the same, call it craft, all right, that was found twice on the sands of Shikmona Beach. Now, by the way, when the Sightings team came later, they said, coincidence, maybe it's a bat or something, but it doesn't matter. What happened is that something really unique happened there. Alien craft, they decided not just to appear, but to leave souvenirs. And doing so, they revealed the dimensions of their craft. Apparently, the pilot, the construction material, look, these were in crop circles. No, they weren't.
Okay.
They weren't crop circles.
Okay.
They weren't even formed the way a crop circle was formed.
Well, was there an assumption that they were crop circles?
No. No one assumed that. Look,
I seem to recall, Barry, at the time, people were referring to them that way.
No one referred to Shikmona as crop circles.
Well, maybe not there, but I do recall crop circles being reported in Israel.
No, that
was maybe later on.
In time. I'll take care of that in time. There were pretty darn good circles later on. No, these things were burnt. They burnt into the sand or exploded over the sand with tons of witnesses and tons of scientists from the Technion. In short, this was really well documented with Shikmona Beach in 87 and 88. Now, you can say there was a bit of a hiatus. Not really. It was viewed as a hiatus. But in 1991, in the village of Saint Moshe, it's 5 miles from the town of Kadima. That's relevant, and I'll explain shortly.
I'll tell you what, let's do our break now then, Barry, and we'll get back to it. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Headlines, suspensions, FCC investigations. That's Mancow for you. Hear him here. GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKEsoft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKEsoft.com.
Do you owe the IRS money that you can't pay? Are tax liens and levies ruining your life? Are you tired of being afraid just to go to the mailbox? If this describes you, then Dan Pilla can help.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla, and I've been solving tax problems for more than 30 years. In fact, I wrote the book that made it possible to negotiate settlements with the IRS, and I've helped thousands of people do exactly that. Call now at 800-346-6829 to learn how I can help you. You know your IRS debt will not go away by itself, but you don't have to live in fear anymore. New changes to IRS policies will help more people than ever before eliminate their debts once and for all. There's no need for you to suffer another day with IRS debt. Call 800-346-6829. I can help you eliminate wage and bank levies, release tax liens, and negotiate a settlement with the IRS that will put your tax nightmare behind you forever. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, taxhelponline.com. That's taxhelponline.com.
To thank you for being a loyal listener, we have a limited time freebie offer for you. Claim your free heirloom tomato seeds, just pay shipping, right now at 123freeseeds.com. These aren't ordinary seeds. These are heirloom, non-genetically modified super seeds that are open pollinated and can be grown, harvested, and replanted endlessly. These survival seeds are actually more valuable than gold in a crisis. Go to 123freeseeds.com and you can get an airtight storage packet of 150 super seeds free while supplies last to say thank you for being a loyal listener. First come, first served. Just cover shipping. Go to 123freeseeds.com now to see if your free heirloom seeds are still available. That's 123freeseeds.com.
Hi, my name is Annette, and due to menopause symptoms for nearly 2 years, I suffered severe hot flashes, which prevented me from sleeping all night. It was so hard to work because I continued all day to have the hot flashes from hell. I was exhausted and depleted. After only 3 weeks on One World Way, I have no hot flashes, and I'm sleeping normally again. I feel energized and strong. This is an amazing product.
It is a little-known fact that every single cell of your body is supposed to produce 10% of its protein content as glutathione. But due to toxicity and aging, it does not. Could glutathione be a missing factor in optimal cell function for your entire body? If you restore the optimal glutathione levels in your cells, especially your glands and organs, then as a result, your glands and organs work better. Imagine the quality of life improvement you might have. To order One World Way, call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldway.com. That's oneworldwhey.com.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
We have Barry Chamish joining us, talking about this incredible wave of sightings from the late 80s to the 90s in Israel. Please proceed, Barry.
Look, in 91, and by the way, folks, I'm going to repeat this again. I'm doing this with such a flu, but that said, away I go. Stamos says a village 5 miles from Kadima. We'll get to Kadima shortly. For 2 nights, something was hovering over the house of Eli Cohen. Well, on the 3rd night, he just got a video camera and he taped whatever it was. A few minutes of the tape were recorded after daybreak. So we've got a very clear and convincing record of the UFO. And of course, by the way, Sightings broadcast it. And I'll tell you how to get those broadcasts from me. Now, look, that was a pretty good episode. But beginning on April 20th of 1993, it started a wave. Look, Tzipora Carmel is number one. Attractive woman. She early in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, her house glows from within. She stepped outside to see what causes glowing. She looked into her backyard. It's quite a yard, by the way. It's a field, really. But she thought someone built a new fruit silo in her backyard. But then the silo added a second story to itself. And then she looked 10 yards to the side of this magical silo. She saw a 7-foot-tall being wearing metallic overalls. Now, its head was covered with what she called, it looked like a beekeeper's hat. And Tzipora said to it, "Why don't you take off your hat so I can see your face?" And the being answered her telepathically. And by the way, all right, it'll repeat. He says, "No way, that's the way it is." Now, this was Israel's first publicized close encounter with the giants. Look, Tzipora could have been ridiculed easily, except in her backyard was a crop circle 4.5 meters in diameter, and it was found exactly where she had seen the craft, and there was a path leading to whatever this creature was doing, 10 yards down the field. Look, within the circle, there was a rock. I got the rock, by the way, not a foot away from me in my apartment. It was later tested to be almost pure silicon. And by the way, in those days, they didn't make silicon that good. It wasn't something you could just pick up and throw around, if it existed at all. But within 10 days, there were 2 more circles found in Seaport's backyard. Now, this time, a red liquid was found in them, and it was tested by the National Biological Institute in Nestiona. It was found to be, well, a lot of it was stuff that can be explained, aluminum, iron, this, but there was a real giant peak of cadmium, which, by the way, is not so common in a liquid form. This returned over and over again. Now, I'm not going to go through all of Kadima, but Shosh Yehud and Seaport were the only witnesses who actually knew each other. Shosh Yehud is the treasurer of the town of Kadima. And by the way, she is down to earth beyond. She is not a conspiratorial woman. Seaport became that way, let me tell you. The only one who did, by the way. Everyone else rused that these events happened to them, rused them. But next month in May, she awoke to see a 7-foot round-faced being in what she described as silvery overalls circling her bed as if her, quote, floating on his shoes. The creature assured her he was not there to harm her, and she became relaxed. This happened time and again. After a few minutes, well, the creature floated through her wall outside, meaning he's not physical in the way we understand physical. Now, Shosh thought she had dreamed the incident. She woke up in the morning, looked out her window, and there was the 4.5-meter crop circle in her backyard. And then the ufologist descended on her home and found the silicon and the cadmium oil. Next, in June, this was very well recorded on Sightings. Next to Kadima, not 2 miles away, is a town called Burgata. Now, listen to Hannah Somek's story. She is startled. It's the middle of the morning, 3 in the morning. She's in the kitchen. She's startled to see her dog go flying into the wall. She looked to her door to see, just to investigate, and her way was stopped by an invisible force. And then she saw a 7-foot round-faced being in metallic overalls examining the pickup truck. Why they come from who knows how many miles or light years away to look at a truck?
Well, maybe they're into SUVs and trucks and stuff, and they maybe he was shopping for I don't know, a Dodge or something.
Not so easy. There's other things, but nonetheless, she said to it, "What did you do, my dog?" And this 7-foot being answered telepathically, "Go away, I'm busy. I could crush you like an ant if I wanted to. Go back to your husband." And by the way, when the sightings, well, the husbands all slept through it. It's not. We'll go into that very shortly as well. When the sightings,
that's not very polite, not very friendly. That's not being a friendly alien.
It's not being, and you know what? Best behavior you could expect of them, I suppose. These are not explainable stories, except they're all the same. With variations, they're all the same. When the sightings crew visited, there were little indentations, little circles all over her property. And, well, we filmed them. What it meant, I don't know. Frankly, I don't know. But needless to say, in her backyard with a 4.5-meter circle, with grass, with cadmium, the usual. By then it became usual. Now, this became a national, I don't know, curiosity, for lack of a better word.
It was international, because I even remember hearing about this prior to Sightings covering it. That's where I first heard about you.
Yeah, I wrote this stuff up before Sightings. That's true enough.
Yeah.
But I'm very flattered, actually, that you. All right. It's nice to know there are people.
Well, no, Barry, that's when I first became aware of your work, and that's when I was really alerted that there were some things going on in Israel and in the Middle East, which prior to that you didn't really hear much about it. And as a result of those particular sighting events and a few things that happened during Desert Storm, I might add, that's where my interest was really first sparked about the region and UFO activity.
We have so much more activity to present. We have Barry Chamish telling us about UFOs and giants on the loose in Israel. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
The nation's largest independently owned and operated talk radio network. The Genesis Communications Network. GCN.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
We live in a complicated society. Stressful issues are always popping up. Have you ever been treated unfairly by someone? Have you ever been overcharged for a repair? Have you ever signed a contract or a document? Worried about identity theft? How many times have you been in those unique situations where you just wanted to call an attorney to find out if you're right or wrong, or what your legal rights are? But every time you think about calling an attorney, what do you think about first? That's right. Who do you call, and how much will it cost? Our friends at Legal Shield have found a solution. With a nationwide network of 6,900 attorneys who average 19 years of experience, Legal Shield's law firms take over 40,000 calls per week helping their members. For less than $20 per month, you can have access to Legal Shield on everything from the trivial to the traumatic. Let Legal Shield stand up for your rights at lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com. Or call 855-340-SAVE, 855-340-7283.
Would you like being an insider? Would you like getting exclusive access to prizes and better deals? Would you like some help in making sure you and your loved ones are prepared for the next disaster or emergency? If you answered yes to any of these, here's your simple solution. Join Freeze Dry Guy's Survival Insider Club. Not only is your membership free, you get $10 in survival bucks just for signing up. Then you save at least 10% on purchases, plus enjoy insider access to specials, prizes, and other exclusive offers. Since 1970, veteran-owned Freeze Dry Guy has been your trusted source for long-lasting, easy-to-make freeze-dried food and dehydrated food, perfect for emergency preparedness, RV travel, and outdoor needs from camping to sailing. Enjoy life as a survival insider. Call Freeze Dry Guy now at 866-404-3663, 866-404-FOOD, or log on to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com.
Farmers keep livestock lean and healthy with a mineral-rich diet. Then, before market, they cut off minerals, leaving them to crave high-calorie grains. If weight control is this easy, why prescribe surgery for humans? Introducing Youngevity. You could avoid 900 diseases by getting 90 essential nutrients from Youngevity. Check out 90 for Life at tobeyoungagain.com or call 855-79-YOUNG. That's 855-79-YOUNG or tobeyoungagain.com. Youngevity. It's all about saving money, getting healthy, and creating wealth.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
This is Kurt Sutherland, the author of UFO Mysteries, and you're listening to the Paracast.
Chris was busy commenting on this presentation from Barry Chamish about UFOs and giants in Israel in the late 80s and 90s. Chris?
Yeah, and I also remember some just rumblings of reports about UFO activity around Dimona, which, if some of our listeners aren't aware, is a highly secret nuclear site in Israel. Did you cover some of those reports, and what do you know about
Not
those?
a one. Nothing from Dimona. Let's go back to what I did cover. Now, what you've got is Channel 1, which in those days, listen, there were only two channels in Israel. Channel 1 was the government station. They put on a show, 2 hours, prime time, bringing together all these witnesses. And let me tell you, they were very, very credible. And the audience, which was most of Israel, they believed them. Why not? These were not people who were prone to lying. These were the most ordinary people, except for Tzipora, who had a wacky side to her, but it doesn't matter. She also had a very rational side to her. It brought out new witnesses. There were some that I won't go into. I'll go into the one that affected me most, and that was Batya Shimon. Now, she's in Rishon LeZion. Now, up till now, you have to remember that these were ground floor visitations. Batya Shimon lived on the 7th floor of an apartment building. And it starts getting a little complicated. In early July, same thing, 7-foot-tall, bald creatures beamed themselves into her 7th floor apartment. They told her telepathically not to be frightened, and she relaxed. Her husband slept through it all. Same thing. Then she felt they were friendly. They roamed her home, again, floating on their shoes, same as Shush, dusting his shelves with yellow sulfuric powder. Now, one being went into her son's room and saw his aquarium and became very, very excited and called his colleague over. He got excited. Now, again, they're going through light years, dimensions, who knows where they came from to see an aquarium? Well, they did. The next night at 3 a.m., 13 of these giants arrived in the apartment. Now, look, let's just do a little background here. This is worthy of noting. All these women were 39 years old. All were white-collar workers. Pardon me?
I said that this is interesting. It's like an alien hoedown or something, an alien party.
I think I figured out what I think. It's who knows? Again, I'll tell you what I think was going on shortly. Now,
I'm dying to hear this.
Look, they were all the same age, the women. They're all women, first of all. All were white-collar workers. All their men slept through it. Two, Batya and Hannah had mysterious pregnancies. Again, sightings. Well, Batya phoned me from Los Angeles and said, "You won't believe it, but I'm pregnant." I said, "Congratulations." And she said, "No, it can't be." Well, whatever. Hannah pulled out the papers from the health clinic that said she was pregnant for 3 months, like 25 years before, and then she wasn't pregnant. They couldn't explain why. Look, all of them were separately visited by the exact same 7-foot-tall, bald, round-faced giants in metallic clothing. They didn't know each other. They could not have conspired. They couldn't have built this thing. They didn't know each other. And they all had the same story, basically. Now,
what's the time frame? What? This is just in a matter of a night or two. The original events, correct?
No, the time frame was April 20th to early July of 1993.
Okay, but did word get out? Could one of the women have heard about one of the other women's experiences and confabulated?
No.
That's what I'm trying to get at. In other words, there was no way for them to know of each other's claims, correct?
In theory, there's one possibility, that's Shush and that's Seaport, but they didn't. They weren't friends. That's the only possibility. The rest, no way. You couldn't have made this up. But the next incident, again, forgive me, folks, I'm doing this under severe duress by the flu. The next incident is beyond disputable, because the witness was the village security chief. His name was Herzl Casantini. This was in December of 94. This was a jump. It was a different incident, but my goodness, I was there. I lived 10 miles away. I drove that morning with my kids, by the way, to see this little thing. Look, Yassitz is about 12 miles from Rishon. It's close enough to note that. Rishon was, of course, Bata Shimon's sighting town. Herzl Casantini was the chief of security for Yassitz. He was with his friend Danny Ezra, who, by the way, did not want to talk about this. He refused. Nothing could get him to open his mouth. They were at home in Danny's house. They heard an explosion and felt his house shake. Herzl opened the door and stood face to face with a 9-feet-tall creature in metallic clothes whose face was hidden, quote, in a haze. He shut the door. Well, Danny essentially fainted. He told him Herzl told him to look through the window. He looked through the window and he went to shock. Herzl called the police. Normally, they would have, I suppose, dismissed this as a crank, except he was the chief of security for the town of Yassitz. They arrived. They found deep boot tracks in very hard mud. The tracks sunk 35 centimeters into the ground at the front of the shoe. Literally, whatever made this had to weigh a ton. I took my kids within a day or two. I know the word got out there was an ice cream truck. Believe it or not, that's how many people showed up. I jumped beside the tracks. I couldn't sink a millimeter in. This was really hard soil. Whatever made this thing 35 centimeters literally weighed a ton. Now, thinking there was a terrorist incursion, the police called it the Army. Now you had military trackers. The tracks carried on for 8 kilometers. The heels dug in only 5 centimeters, which means whatever made the tracks was walking on tippy-toe, if you can call it walking. I mean, sometimes the distance between tracks was 12 feet, meaning the intruder was a record-holding broad jumper weighing about a ton. And occasionally there was a round indentation. It must have been a walking stick. Now, look, the Yassitz incident confirmed, and even to the deepest skeptics, giants were sighted, and they left proof that's impossible to dispute. Now, the Israeli authorities were left holding the bag. They had to come up with an explanation. In the end, they decided that the only way to describe this was the tracks were made by an unknown cult. It would have to be a very unknown cult. Their ceremonies included dressing as giants and leaving miles of unidentifiable tracks in the ground. This wasn't the same as the giants from Kadima. This was 2 foot higher, robotic, left tracks for 8 kilometers. It was a different kind of incident. But after your seats, you had incidents in 1996 that were, I don't know, they're all weird, all right?
That is weird with Barry Chamish, all those UFOs and the giants and such. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
20 years of truly dangerous broadcasting. Mancow. Now heard here. Check it out. GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
A healthy digestive system supports a healthy immune system. And a healthy immune system protects you against infections and disease. Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse, available at Teraganix.com, is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic and is gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 contains 3 groups of beneficial microbes and enzymes to cleanse and remove toxins, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, and aids in controlling yeast and other infections. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy-free, is non-GMO, has all natural certified organic ingredients, has no preservatives, and is never freeze-dried. Pro EM1 is the key to your digestive health. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Teraganix.com, spelled Teraganix.com. Teraganix.com, or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
All right, folks, Barry Chamish has got some fascinating tales to tell here. And we've been focusing after the initial concentration on the murder of Yitzhak Rabin and the possible murder of JFK Jr. Now we're focusing on UFO cases from the 1980s to the 1990s in Israel. Barry, continue, please.
Once again, apologizing. You got me on a flu. I'm doing my best under severe medical duress. All right. That's
doing a great job. This is fascinating stuff, Barry. It's not often that you get 13 giants teleporting into a 7th floor apartment. This is pretty inexplicable, I must say. And I also would like to talk about the footage that supposedly was taken of the object. I believe it was at the Temple Mount, if I'm not mistaken, in 2009.
Oh, yeah, that was only 2 years ago. Look, by then I was in America. I was forced to leave Israel. It got very, very hairy for me, very hairy. Yeah. And I just ran for the hills. But that's a separate issue.
But I want you to finish. I want you to finish your report on these tracks and physical evidence. This is really good stuff, and I'd sure love to see some lab reports of some of the ash that was collected and see some of the analysis that was done by investigators of the trackways. That's pretty compelling physical evidence. Also,
all right, here's how to see that. There's an easy way to see that. My book is called Return of the Giants.
Okay,
it's at www.lulu.com, lulu.com. Write in my name in the search box, Chamish, Chamish, or go to Chamish, Return of the Giants. Don't get the color one, too expensive, black and white or blue. And my website is barrychamish.com.
I have not read the book. I must confess. I would like to. This is fascinating stuff. I did find reference to the Dimona UFO incident. It happened December 2010. The Israeli Air Defense Forces shot down an object, and there was a big cover-up. They said they claimed they never found wreckage. That's a pretty interesting report that you may want to look into a little more. But continue with our giants.
Yeah, well, 96. Well, first of all, look, I got a lot of films from different people, but nothing was as spectacular as over 3 nights over Kibbutz Chatzor in the Negev. Oh, this thing had 2 rows apparently of vents or windows. It's been analyzed. No one can figure out what they are. This was captured by professional equipment. And again, there were 100 witnesses night after night. These are not hidden incidents. These are very well witnessed. But let's go. We'll go. Oh, heck, let's go into Netanya. Look, this is one where, once again, it was very, very well documented because Shoshana Bar-On, well, she and her boyfriend, Ilan Cohen, were driving home and they saw something over the cliffs of Netanya and they stopped the car. And that something was a small craft. And they looked inside. Somehow this small craft had 3 tiny passengers or drivers, whatever it was. I phoned Michael Hesman. I told him about this thing. He sent Daryl Sims, an American ufologist, to Netanya. Now, look, Ilan Cohen, her boyfriend, was nuts. And he really, really screwed things up for her case. But Shoshana was not nuts. And her daughter, Talia, was not nuts. But one thing Ilan did say, we went to the apartment. He says, when they arrived, they stink up the place. We went to their apartment. I was the first to smell the arrival, and I'll swear by it. Give me a stack of Torahs. I'll swear. I smelt a stink. I looked for what could be the source. I looked for something burning, an electrical outlet, and something. Wasn't it? I don't know where the stink came from. Then, one by one, everyone smelled it. I don't even know what this incident means. But the daughter, Talia, was in close contact with whatever Shoshana saw over the cliffs of Netanya, and I got Daryl Sims filming it and testing her. In short, another incident in my book, Return of the Giants. And I dive into some detail on this one. Now, you want, once again, reliability. I've got reliability, the best reliability you could ask for a cop. He's the chief of police for Beit Sha'an. His name is Yitzhak Mordecai. Now, here's the story of December 6, 91, 3 in the morning. Yossi Ben Maoz is returning to Beit Shaon, and he looks out the window, and over Kibbutz Maoz Chaim is a craft, all right? He doesn't know whether, again, they all think it's a disabled craft, a disabled helicopter. At first, that's what people think, but he got out, and it wasn't flying like a disabled helicopter. He thought it might be a terrorist incursion, a terrorist glider. So he phoned the Beit Shaon police. They looked in the direction he told them to look, and there was this thing flying. They decided to wake up their commander, Yitzhak Mordechai. He went outside, saw this thing flying. After that, this went on from here on in for 3.5 hours. From 3 in the morning till 6:30 in the morning, you had the Air Force, you had kibbutz security, you had the police, you had hundreds of soldiers of various kinds following this thing. You can't keep that secret. Although they trifle with Yitzhak Mordechai, the man had a lot of dignity and overcame the worst of it for sightings. But they followed this thing. Now, here's the part. This thing, and again, hundreds of armed soldiers and police are following this thing. It flies to the Jordanian border, where nobody can just cross into the Jordanian border. You'd start a war. So, now, we don't know if it knew where the Jordanian border was, or they, whatever it was, saw these forces stopping, but it came back. It ended up hovering. Now, this is, again, after 3.5 hours of leading these forces on a chase, it hovered. Oh, yes, it hovered over Kibbutz Maoz Chaim. That was the end of it. At that point, it was there for half an hour, let's say, and one of Mordecai's men said, should I try and shoot it down? And he said, why should you? What's it done to us? And it left in peace. But this thing, again, you can't hide this. You're talking hundreds of people did follow this thing. It got out. And again, I put it on Sightings. Again, my website is barrychamish.com. There's an email address. If you want the DVD, I'll send it to you.
Hey, folks, we're going to do a break here, and then we'll get a lot more to cover in our remaining 3 segments with Barry Chamish. We're joining Gene and Chris for our first episode of 2014. You're in the Paracast. Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
Do you know how much the dollar has lost in its value against other currencies in the last 90 days? Ever think about how inflation will change your life, your savings, your retirement plans? Remember inflation in Zimbabwe, Argentina, the Weimar Republic? Put another way, who cares if your investments go up 10%, but you lose 40% of your purchasing power? Gold is the only monetary asset as no one else's liability. Gold still buys the same amount of stuff it always did. Gold does not require trust in a third party. You can possess it in your hand. You can take it with you. Gold is real money. Gold is honest money. My name is Daniel Larson from Midas Resources. To find out how you can protect your savings and roll over your IRA funds into precious metals accounts, please call me at 800-686-2237, extension 134. That's 800-686-2237, extension 134. 800-686-2237, extension 134.
To thank you for being a loyal listener, we have a limited time freebie offer for you. Claim your free heirloom tomato seeds, just pay shipping, right now at 123freeseeds.com. These aren't ordinary seeds. These are heirloom, non-genetically modified super seeds that are open-pollinated and can be grown, harvested, and replanted endlessly. These survival seeds are actually more valuable than gold in a crisis. Go to 123freeseeds.com and you can get an airtight storage packet of 150 super seeds free while supplies last to say thank you for being a loyal listener. First come, first served. Just cover shipping. Go to 123freeseeds.com now to see if your free heirloom seeds are still available. That's 123freeseeds.com.
Heart and Body Extract continues to receive positive testimonials from people who have experienced amazing results, like Reed.
I just wanted to send you a quick but a very big thank you for Heart and Body Extract. I've been on the formula for nearly a month now, and the improvement in the circulation of my legs has been simply amazing.
Reed was facing a tough choice.
I was facing surgery due to the severity of the 100% blocked arteries in both my legs. And my decision, waiting for surgery, to say no and try Heart and Body Extract instead, has been thankfully the right decision.
And the result?
I can now walk up steps without noticeable pain.
Order Heart and Body Extract at 866-295-5305, 866-295-5305, or hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract for a long and healthy life.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Oh, yes. Out of the world, or out of this world, events in Israel. Now, before we go on with case histories, Barry Chamish, did these stories spread much beyond Israel? Obviously, people involved in UFO research who cover the subject know about it. But was there much coverage otherwise beyond Sightings?
Well, first of all, beyond Sightings was a pretty big show back then. But, yeah, I did it for TV reports worldwide. But, again, UFO reports, there's some interest, but the public tend to dismiss it. Let's just say it got about as good as it can get, all right?
I remember hearing about these reports in the mid-'90s, and then later on, I think you were submitting articles to Jeff Renz, too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that makes sense as well. Before I collected all these articles since Return of the Giants, any market that would have me, listen, that's the world today. And don't tell your kids to grow up to be freelance writers. Bad advice, all right? It's a tough life, terrible life. But that's what I chose. And you know what? I can die with dignity. I never lied. I never tried to fool people. I use old-fashioned journalism. I had to corroborate. I exposed frauds, the works. If something stuck, I said so. But in the case of the UFOs, you know what? I might have had I'm trying to hide it, trying to understand. Rabin is happening. It's happening for me in Israel in a big way. And I'm putting out a book on UFOs. Can you imagine the damage that combination can do to the Rabin assassination? So I tried to hide it in Israel. Actually, I did a fairly good job of doing that.
I agree.
Shall we continue?
Yeah, you may.
Look, a real beauty happened in 97. Now, you have to understand that I was in the Air Force. I served at, two of the biggest Air Force bases in Israel, Tel Nof and Ramat David. I shot two kinds of missiles. Well, you don't have to know all this, but I was a anti-aircraft missile operator. Now, the pilots would come and lecture us to tell us what to look for. How to, for one thing, not aim at one of theirs and make sure you're aiming at the enemy and stuff like that. They give us lectures. At the end of these lectures, after a little incident in the Sinai, I stayed and I talked to the pilots, two of them, by the way. And I asked them, I'd say, were you ever ordered to chase after Abamim? That's Hebrew for UFOs. Both said yes. One chased one over Haifa, got close, and it took off in a flash. And one chased one over Jerusalem, and he got close, and it took off in a flash. But they wouldn't have said this. But I was in the same uniform as them, and I just listened to a lecture from them, and they talked to me. Pilots in Israel do chase UFOs, and I assure you of that. But in 1997, Gil Barr, just a young kid back then, bright young kid, mind you, 16, he's on his balcony in his home in Rishon LeZion, and he sees what he thinks is a UFO. He gets his video camera, and an Air Force jet is chasing this thing. And it is playing with the jet. Again, I have this on my DVD, BarryChamish.com, and find me, and I'll send it to you and not charge you a lot. And I've got this. Gil Barr filmed the Israeli Air Force chasing a UFO, and the UFO was just mocking it. I mean, really. It went left, it went right, it did whatever it wanted. Our technology in there, they made it was just a joke to them. Why it was done, who knows? Again, who knows? Any of us, who knows? But Gil Barr filmed it. It's also in my book, Return of the Giants. Same thing. I have pictures, not as good as seeing the real thing, though.
Since we're on the subject of giants, one of our listeners who posts at forum.theparacast.com, where our listeners can put questions up for us to ask our guests, FC7 wants to know if you have an opinion on the giant skull and bone photos that are out there, and if you think they're real. And do you believe that there is a cover-up to hide evidence? He cites the last scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they're taking the Ark of the Covenant and putting it in a warehouse. Do you think there is?
This isn't what I do. I don't know which giant photos he's talking about. I will talk about a very real site in Israel. And, well, look, how many years ago were giants in Israel? Pre-Bible. All right, look, they were called the Nephilim, those literally fallen ones. And they became ultimately the mortal enemies of the Hebrew nations. Now, one giant king mentioned in the Bible is Og of Bashan. And in the Bible, it's recorded that his bed was 13 feet long. Now, Bashan's territory included the Golan Heights. This is, again, what I did I think I did it for Sightings and for German TV. Whatever, we went to see something in the Golan Heights, the Israeli version of Stonehenge. It's called Gilgal Rephaim, the Circle of the Giants. This thing was, let me try and describe it. It consists of 5 concentric rings. And by the way, whose beauty can only be appreciated from a helicopter or something. But unfortunately, this thing was built 5,200 years ago. In stages, but it began 5,200 years ago. Now, this site is really big. The outside circle has a diameter of 159 meters. And these, well, over 37,000 tons of rock went into the construction of this thing. Again, loose rock. That's a very tough way to build, but you have to understand it's 500 years older than the oldest pyramid.
I'll tell you what, let me progress with another break, and then we'll continue with this. Barry Chamish joining Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
We are the premier independent talk radio network, the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey Guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey Guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
Would you like being an insider? Would you like getting exclusive access to prizes and better deals? Would you like some help in making sure you and your loved ones are prepared for the next disaster or emergency? If you answered yes to any of these, here's your simple solution. Join Freeze Dry Guy's Survival Insider Club. Not only is your membership free, you get $10 in survival bucks just for signing up. Then you save at least 10% on purchases, plus enjoy insider access to specials, prizes, and other exclusive offers. Since 1970, veteran-owned Freeze Dry Guy has been your trusted source for long-lasting, easy-to-make freeze-dried food and dehydrated food, perfect for emergency preparedness, RV travel, and outdoor needs from camping to sailing. Enjoy life as a survival insider. Call Freeze Dry Guy now at 866-404-3663, 866-404-FOOD, or log on to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com.
It's that time of year again, and you know what that means. Cold and flu season. But don't worry, herbalhealer.com has you and your loved ones covered with our safe and natural products. Cold and flu fighters like beta-glucans, olive leaf antiviral capsules, grapefruit seed extract, HHA 4-herb capsules, elderberry power, and respirate. And don't forget about oregacillin for the lungs, normally $34.95, on sale now for only $25. Vitamin D3 120-count soft gels, only $9. Whole body and homeopathic detoxes for the lungs, kidneys, liver, lymph, and brain, normally $26.95, now just $20. Herbalhealer.com also offers correspondence courses to teach you how to handle your health naturally. And as always, new customers get a free 128-page catalog with your order. Visit herbalhealer.com and click the Winter Specials button to save on our natural cold and flu fighting products. Herbalhealer.com, healing the world with nature, one person at a time, since 1988.
Hi, my name is Richard Dolan. You're listening to the Paracast.
Two more segments with Barry Chamish. We're focusing on those incredible UFO sightings in Israel with an historical background. Would you continue, Barry?
Again, Gilgal Rephaim exists on the Golan Heights. Who built it, nobody knows. But there was a people. This people had a king named Bashan, Og. Og ran Bashan. He was a giant. His bedstead was 13 feet long. The nomads of 5,200 years ago couldn't have built this thing. They couldn't have seen this thing. Now, there are all kinds of theories that the solar solstice, on the day of the solar solstice, you can see the rising of Sirius. I mean, there are all kinds of theories. The fact is it was built, and it's 500 years older than the oldest pyramid. The indigenous nomads didn't build megaliths. Some sort of outsider built it. Now, this is why I call the book what I call the book. And again, I say when I speculate, but no one's come up with a better explanation why that wave in 93. And it gets a little spooky, and I'll dive into a little more. But in 93, giants returned to Israel for the first time in thousands of years. But the biblical giants were God's enemy. Israel's armies were their means. That was the only way they stood up to them. Look, I would contemplate the re-arrival of giants in Israel in 93 with a lot of credit here. You have to look at the timing of this. The so-called peace accord, well, it was formulated in April of 1993 when the giants first arrived. It was finalized in July of 1993 when the first wave of giants disappeared. I don't know. Again, I'm speculating, but this peace accord will mean the end of Israel. It was a disaster from day one. It was hidden in deception and lies and whatever else. Maybe the utter stake of evil brought these giants back. That's the best I've got, but the timing is really, really uncanny.
So let me get you make sure I have this straight here. So you're saying that the giant showing up in 93 and disappearing during the time period of the peace talks was like some sort of negative portent or warning, possibly?
Oh, I think something brought them back. Look, they're not sure they're gone. In 99, and by the way, the authorities got really, really scared of the reports, and by 1999, they were, not completely gone. The one over the Temple Mount 2 years ago, that was just too big to be covered up. but mostly the left in 99. But the giant sightings, these 7-foot round-faced giants, they were here from April 20th, 1993, and they left, I believe, July 7th or something, 93. That was by Hiroshima in early July when Oslo was formulated. That was the so-called peace agreement. It was the sellout of Israel, and Israel's not going to last much longer. Once this Oslo started, Israel was finished. And then in July, they signed it. Not the agreement. That had to wait all the way to November. And that's when other forces got involved, really, really serious ones. One of these days, maybe, well, we might even have a few minutes today to discuss it, who's behind this and this. Really rotten people. The Jewish people know nothing. Nothing. The average Jew knows nothing. And by the way, I kind of blame them. Even though they saw my logic on Rabin, it still wasn't enough to make the Jewish people stand up and defend themselves. Couldn't do it. I tried. I really, really tried. They're going to go down again, and it's going to be really, really bad what's coming up. It's just a matter of time.
And we don't have time to go into the Palestinian issue and so many things.
Palestinians, I'm talking Vatican. I'm talking
the Vatican. There's a lot of forces at work. It's very complicated. Pretty soon, Arabs will be outnumbering Israelis in terms of the population. There's a lot of things
that's minor. That's not even an issue. And by the way, that's not true.
Well, it is the Palestinians. And so settlements, and so is the wall. I mean, there's so much that it is so complicated. We don't have time to go into it. But what
I wish I could sort you out a little bit on this. You're just giving truisms. But all right,
correct me if I'm wrong, but it is a very complicated issue, and it would take several shows to.
The complicated issue is how the Jews got there, and that's the first part. Their own people, and I'm going to say it again. They're called labor Zionists. These were like the Ben Gurions and the Weizmanns and the Golda Meirs. They were the worst enemy the Jewish people ever had, was within their own people, and that story is really nasty.
Yeah,
really nasty. It's not coming to a happy ending.
Well, and either is all the billions of dollars that are being poured into weapons and defense expenditures being paid for over there. It's a huge issue, and I think any time that you have a time correlation of some strange entity showing up during a crucial period in the culture, one of the things that I automatically kind of scratch my head and wonder is if possibly the culture is manifesting this as some sort of warning or some sort of portent. It's just fascinating to me that the timing is so exact with the Oslo Peace Accord process. That to me is very.
That's what got me too. And the Rabin assassination was in 95. Let's just put it this way. It was all happening together. Now, part of it is Paris. Now, he's the president of the country, and this guy is raw evil. Raw. He is the so-called peace president. He doesn't give a damn about the Jewish people.
And Menachem Begin wasn't much better. He was winning the Stern game.
Menachem Begin was much better. What are you talking about? Begin was honest and decent. He was infinitely better. Look, I'm not going to dive in.
The infamous Stern gang, and he blew up the King David Hotel.
Fantastic! I would have joined the Stern gang. That's something I would have done automatically if I was living in the fort. You don't understand what's going on here.
I don't.
By the way, Begin was never in the Stern gang. He was never in the Stern gang. He was in the same. I'm not going to dive into it. We're getting into it, and you're giving me truisms now. What I'm going into is a broader truth. The broader truth was that the left of Israel, the Labor Party, couldn't give a damn about the religious or the right. They couldn't give a damn if they were mass murdered. They wanted to start their Judaism, a new Judaism, and anyone who got in their way died in camps. The lucky ones got sent to Africa by the British. No one got in their way.
That's a pretty severe indictment.
Yeah. That's,
I had a chance to meet Moshe Aaron's son, Ari Aarons, and got a chance to spend some time with him and his bodyguards in San Francisco. He's pretty famous in the artificial intelligence world, and he's a very smart guy. And he told me some pretty interesting things. Of course, at the time, I think his dad was Secretary of Defense or maybe the ambassador to the UN. I forget, but
we can't forget these announcements, folks. Barry Chamish is joining Gene and Chris for one more segment. You're in the Paracast.
The bad boy of broadcasting, Mancow, has found a new home. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100 foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Take delivery in spring. 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
An e-cig revolution is sweeping across the country. But is yours American-made? Vaporite e-liquid by LeSig is. Manufactured in Arkansas with 100% USA-sourced ingredients. And when you buy American, you support local jobs. Vaporite e-liquid by LeSig is top quality at an affordable price. The very principle that once drove the American economy. Get great taste with no ash, tar, or smoke. You'll be wondering why you didn't make the change to Vaporite e-liquid by LeSig a long time ago. LeSig.com has everything you need, for beginners to the advanced vaping enthusiast, with a wide variety of hardware, and also imported e-liquid flavors as well. Plus, LeSig smokes the competition with fast, free, same-day shipping, real people customer service, and a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. Support our country and become a Vaporite at LeSig.com. Or call 870-525-1440, 870-525-1440. LeSig e-cigarettes for today's modern smoker.
You're fired. According to the Small Business Administration, 75% of small businesses plan to eliminate jobs or reduce workers' hours to part-time. You're fired. According to Gallup, the unemployment rate recently jumped to nearly 9%, and the underemployment rate hit a staggering 17.9%. You're fired. 1 out of 3 young adults and 1 out of 2 recent college graduates are underemployed. Hello, I'm Keith Abel, a pharmacist and a home business entrepreneur. In 2011, I became one of those statistics myself. Instead of looking for another job in corporate America, I joined Dr. Joel Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy. We're creating steady incomes for ourselves and would like to show you how to do the same. If you want to supplement your current income, replace your income, so you don't have to become one of the statistics, then give me a call toll-free at 866-257-3105, 866-257-3105.
You're fired.
Don't wait till you hear those words. Start creating an extra income today. 866-257-3105.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
So we're down to one more segment trying to sort things out here. Chris, before we let Barry Chamish go, are there any more questions in the hopper?
Well, there are. We've covered a lot of ground in terms of the question bank, but there is one here. We were talking about biblical interpretations of UFO activity. Again, this comes from Psychedelic Alchemist, one of our newer posters at forum.theparacast.com. And he wants to know, have you, Barry, done any investigation into other UFO sightings in biblical times? Are there any particular passages in the Bible that you think might be referring to UFOs and ETs beyond, the standard Ezekiel wheel within the wheel and some of the other more well-known examples? Where do you come down on biblical UFOs?
Yeah, I think there was. And again, in my book, originally I wrote this thing very broadly, named some very obvious instances. And don't underestimate Ezekiel. That was outstanding in his description of what it had to be UFO activity. Come on. But that's neither here nor there. What worries me more than anything is not that the Rephaim, the giants, were Israel's enemies in biblical times. What worries me is they came back in 93 when the so-called peace agreement that Israel was stuck with. They brought back terrorism. They brought the end of the state. It worked like a charm. It worked beautifully. And during that moment, they came back. That's what my book, Return of the Giants, is about. Again, if you want it, it's at Lulu, LULU.com. There's a search box right in Chamish, CHAMISH, or Chamish Return of the Giants. Get the black and white one. Color's a bit expensive. And you'll see, yes, I do take the biblical side of things seriously, but I'm no expert. I'm an expert on the modern. Well, if you call the 90s modern, I'm an expert on it. What happened 2 years ago over the Temple Mount, it was recorded from 3 different angles. I listened to the Hebrew recordings. These people all saw it. Something really did happen. And once again, it was tremendously filmed. And what it means, not a clue.
It sure created a stir, and there were quite a number of people that just automatically assumed it was a hoax until the other 2 angles of footage came out. And then it was a little bit more difficult to explain away. So you come down on the side of it being a real event then?
Say it again, I come down on the side of what?
Of that being a real event, not some sort of fabricated event or a hoax.
Certainly a real event. Listen, fortunately, I can understand Hebrew, and those voices were not actors. They saw what they saw. Now, what it meant, I don't dare tell you because I don't know. And it's, again, I dove in depth on what was happening in Israel. Israel was falling to pieces. It was being sold. Look, the Israel that I moved to in the 70s was a secure country. It was being chopped to nothing. And while the final coup de grace was being applied, these giants reappeared. So I drew my own conclusions, and I admit, I'm speculating. But you got a better one? You tell me what it is. I sure don't.
Maybe it was Muhammad coming back to Temple Mount for a visit to the Dome of the Rock.
Muhammad was never at the Temple Mount. He wasn't within 800 miles of it. Look, again, you're diving into I try to stick with the straightforward facts.
Yeah, I was trying to crack a joke, but it didn't go over very well.
The straightforward facts is these people that I interviewed. Again, you'll find my email address at barrychamish.com. Write me, and I'll send you the DVD. These people, I've met plenty of hoaxers, and I dismissed them. I smelled them a mile off. And other people missed them, but I knew them. But I also knew even C. Porritt, who had a wacky side to her, she was telling the truth. What can you say? There's a way to gather evidence. I think it's being lost in these conspiratorial books, which again is what, when I wrote about Kennedy, that's so totally lost. Everyone's got a favorite book and a favorite witness, and it's just smothered in obfuscation. That's why I concentrate on JFK Jr. It's not smothered, it's a straight-out hit.
Yeah, I've always suspected something downwind of the fish market on that one. That's for sure.
Well, as I said, on that one, I had a reporter who called. He was a reporter for the Martha's Vineyard Gazette. She phoned him up. Then she emailed me when I wrote this latest article and said, I'm flattered that you mentioned me. And I said, well, will you come on my show? And well, she phoned him in one day, and he admitted what he saw. He saw the plane blow up. Then he was got to, and then suddenly he disappeared from the internet. She told me the whole story. And I said, will you come on my show? And she said, only if you can disguise my voice. I said, how would I do that? All right. She didn't want anything to do with this, and who can blame her?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real sticky subject, and people have a habit of getting harmed and get too close to certain subjects like that.
Yeah, well, watch out for this coming May when the Pope arrives in Israel with the blessings of Netanyahu. By the way, do you know he was an actual member of the Council of Foreign Relations? I believe it was 92. An actual member. He's American.
Bibi was a member? Netanyahu?
Yes.
You're kidding me. I didn't know that.
Marshall Owens was on the Foreign whatever affairs commission of the Council on Foreign Relations. They've got us both ways. If you can't make the right dishonest, you make them members.
There you go. Yeah, and divide and conquer.
Well, they're doing a marvelous job. And as I said, Israel was the country that I loved, and I defended, and I fought for, and I went to war for, the works. But when I found out it's not the country that I knew.
No. And I had an Israeli girlfriend for 6 years who was very close with, as I mentioned, Ari Aarons and others in Israel. She was very in touch with the scene going on over there. She was also, like most Israeli youth, had to be in the army and stuff. And I found out some pretty troubling things about what's going on there. There is way more going on there than it's so complicated. And it's even more complicated than you could imagine.
Oh, well, this is what always happens with us. Right at the end of the show, we get involved in the topic, but wait, that's all the time we have. You know, that's kind of true with everything. We look for simple answers to complicated issues and sometimes fall for the nonsense from the people who say, I know what's really going on, and I can tell you what the real truth is, and these are the people you should least believe. Barry Chamish, tell our listeners once again where they can find more of the things that you work on.
Yes, I'm at lulu.com, www.lulu.com. 9 of my books are there. You just write in Chamish, Chamish. The newest book is called The Stinger Not the Stung, except that you have right in Chamish, The Stinger Not the Stung. My website is barrychamish.com, and the president of Israel is a butcher.
Well, I just think that we have to end it there. You can find us, by the way, on Twitter, where we're known as the Paracast. That's the Paracast on Twitter. Chris O'Brien has Stalking the Herd in the final stages of production. I've seen the pages. They look great. So I know it's going to happen. His site is OurStrangePlanet.com. That's OurStrangePlanet.com. Here in the Paracast. Barry Chamish, thank you for joining us on the show.
Oh, you were great, and as I said, you handled my flu very well. I got through it because of your ease.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for hanging in there with us, Barry. That was fun.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.